the topic of domestic violence. So, you and I, we all know that domestic violence has to do with when people are living together. Usually they are romantically partnered and they decide to move in together, either legally or formally through marriage, or maybe just through normal, informal cohabitation. You're just dating and you like spending time with someone, so you decide, hey, let's shack up, let's live together. And so you proceed to do so. Trouble ensues, and before you know it, fights begin, fights erupt, and it can escalate to where it can even threaten both of your lives. Maybe one partner or the other, sometimes both. So a lot of people obviously have a lot of thoughts about domestic violence and where the blame should lie. When it comes to the issue of domestic violence, whose fault is it? Traditionally, we're made to understand that it's always the man's fault, that the man is always the one that's in the wrong, that they are the main aggressors. Feminists and women's activists will have us believe that men are the end-all and be-all of domestic violence. The common stereotype, really, we should even call it a caricature, is that a man walks into the house and for no reason at all starts getting in his wife's face, and then he might pounce on her and start beating her up, and then she either has to just take it silently, or it might escalate into a mutual exchange of violence, assuming she wishes to defend herself. And that might usually end up with one or both of them really hurt, sometimes dead. So the way that society traditionally handles domestic violence is to, blame the man for it, that it is the man's fault. And most of the advocacy work that is done is targeted at men to tell us how we need to be better when it comes to handling our ladies, that we should be kinder to them, that we should be more considerate, and that we suffer from this issue called toxic masculinity that causes us to want to be violent with our significant others. That's the narrative, and that's what's pushed. It's pushed at the highest level, governmental level, churches, NGOs. The global community calls upon men to not be violent towards women. And if you were to listen to what most men would say about it, a lot of them do seem to think that it's up to men to do more to restrain themselves so as to not be violent towards their significant others. And I just thought that we needed to challenge that narrative, because that narrative doesn't capture the whole story. Did you know that where studies are being conducted to assess which of the partners is most likely to initiate domestic violence, it has been found that it's mostly the ladies. Overwhelmingly, it is the ladies that initiate the violence. Okay? And that, let me correct myself. Overwhelmingly, the violence is mutually inflicted, but where it is initiated by one party, it is overwhelmingly the woman that initiates it. So, let's go back. Overwhelmingly, it is mutually inflicted violence. When you hear of domestic violence, most of the time it is couples fighting. It is not, man comes home, is upset over something, starts beating up on wifey. It's usually a fight that breaks out after an escalation of hostilities, from arguments. You start shoving each other around, start poking each other around. It might escalate into a slap, the other one returns it, another slap, yet another slap. The blows get heavier. One might go look for a weapon, another one might go find a weapon to protect him or herself with, and then you kind of have a bit of a standoff where people are now screaming, yelling, kids are crying, and depending on who decides to get more aggressive, the other party might decide to take drastic measures to end the violence, and that might sometimes end in a situation of, like where you have to really, really hurt the person, like to land a finishing blow to end the fight. Typically, because men are the stronger gender, it'll be them that will land the finishing blow. The blow that essentially either knocks her unconscious or where the other party feels sufficiently hurt that, okay, now they don't want to continue. Now it's getting bad. Now they retreat. Okay. And then maybe at this point, neighbors come in. Hey, what's going on, you guys? What's happening? And then they will typically find the lady in the weekend state, maybe lying on the floor, maybe with injuries to her face and body. And then, police might be called. And in a scenario like that, almost unanimously, everyone will blame the man for the violence. But was it really his fault entirely? I think if we're going to be fair about dealing with the issue of domestic violence, I think we need to be honest in understanding the role of both parties in creating the situations that make domestic violence more likely than not. And if we're going to be serious about ensuring that domestic violence doesn't happen or that it is greatly minimized, we have to capture the full scope of the issue rather than to just make it about the man being at fault at all times. I personally have been a victim of domestic violence. I can think of one instance where I would say there was one incident where I was actually a victim of domestic violence, and a second one where the person I was dealing with at the time was trying to get domestic violence started, but it never got to that point. I escaped the situation before it could escalate to that point, and nothing came of it. But then I have one instance where I was actually victimized. And the first case was one in which I was actually staying with the person. The person had moved in with me. And, well, oh gosh, relationships are so interesting, aren't they? They start off with everyone very happy, everyone feeling so into each other, and that initial honeymoon phase where you're there wondering how it took you so long to find someone so amazing. You're both feeling great about each other. You're spending so much time together, and then you're like, okay, you know what, you might as well just move in. And then you start to live together. Well, things went south pretty quickly after that, after the move-in. There's something about sharing a space with someone that tends to bring out the worst in people. And that's another thing. And it'll lead to what my recommendation will be for domestic violence. So, it wasn't long before, once the honeymoon phase fades away, now all of a sudden, you're dealing with, at least I was now dealing with mood swings from this person. And I'm not going to claim I had no part to play in how she might have been feeling. Of course, if you were to ask me, I'd probably say, yeah, maybe there was something wrong with her. But this person was constantly moody and sad. And whatever I tried to do to change the situation, I do feel regardless of what you might think of me, I do have a romantic bone in my body, maybe a few. And I did try to impress her and to please her and to sort of rise to the occasion to be a good partner to this person. But it just felt like a black hole, wherein the more I felt I was doing, the worse the situation got. And I remember just sitting with her one day, and she's just it was yet one of those other days when once again she's going on about how miserable she is and how everyone hates her. And you might know someone who's like that. There's a constant dark cloud hanging over them. The whole world is against them, apparently. Their family doesn't like them. Their friends don't like them. And so when you're dating someone like that and they confide that in you, you kind of feel inclined to be the person who can be there for them. You want to assure them that, hey, don't worry about that. You got me. I'm here. And so I would sit and always try to listen to her rantings about all the things in her life that weren't going the way she wanted. And I think one day I just said the wrong thing, or I said something but phrased it in a way that I think triggered her. And just out of the blue, this lady just whacks me across the face. Boom! How the fuck can you say that? How can you say that to me? How can you say such a thing? And yo, this girl was tough. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Gosh, it was so crazy. I thought my eye was going to fall out. She landed such a heavy blow across my face. And you know what? At that moment, it was the first time it had ever happened to me. I'm like, no, if it's going to be like this, it can't continue. And so, I moved to, dissolve the relationship. It was pretty nasty. It was one of those nasty ones. It did. But one thing I never did was to ever allow the situation to escalate to where there would be, violence. I just decided that would not happen. Again, so whenever I could feel the tension rising, I just sort of pull away, let the situation cool down. And that's how I carried on until eventually she left my house. The second instance, the one where it almost happened, was someone was visiting, and what happened was that she was very bothered about the fact that I was very aloof. I'm one of those people. I'm like an introvert. I kind of live in my head. And so it was one of those days where she'd come over and I kind of was just in my own space, I mean, I was happy she was there. It's just, I was just sitting there and kind of just in my own world. And I think she felt like I wasn't being present for her. And basically, she began taunting me, just insulting me, taunting me, just trying to get in my face, just out of the blue, speaking in ways I'd never heard her speak before. And so I'm like, yo, what's this chick's problem? But I sort of just brushed it off and I played it cool. And the more I played it cool, the more she escalated the taunting and the insults. And it got to where it was now getting really personal, the things she was trying to say to trigger me. But I didn't get triggered. I just got up, removed myself from the situation, left the house, came back late, and that was that. Anyway, she leaves the next day, and I spent about a week not seeing her again. I think she understood that I was not happy with how she behaved. And so she texted me an apology saying she's very sorry for how she behaved that day. She did explain that she felt I wasn't being present for her. She was right. However, she did apologize for the way she handled it, which is to try to get me pissed off. Like getting in my face, taunting me, provoking me, personal insults. You know the kinds of insults that can typically get you mad? Like they start insulting your family, right? Like when someone goes there, they're asking for it. But I didn't take the bait nonetheless. So she sends me that apology, sorry for her behavior. And then, do you know what she said? What really got me going, what the hell? She said, you know what? Why didn't you at least beat me? If you'd beaten me, I'd have shut up. I mean, I was clearly acting wrong. I was clearly acting like a bitch. All you had to do was to just smack me across the face. I'd have woken up. That's when I understood that, damn. So it's really true what some of these people say. Like, you hear men saying, oh, she provoked me. And then we kind of brushed that off as him looking for an excuse. But in this instance, this person was indicating to me that she specifically wanted to provoke me in order to elicit a reaction out of me. Her issue was that I was not present in the moment for her. You know how you can sit and be in the same room with someone, but you're not there? She was upset with that, and rightfully so. I wasn't being considerate. I kind of was in my own space. I should have, been all up in her face. Hey, baby, hey, darling, how's work? Oh, you look so cute. Oh, did you just do your hair? Oh, wow. Hey, do you want to hear a funny story? Like, to be with her like that and to just, you know what I mean? I wasn't doing that. And she felt that the best way to get me present with her was at least to try to get a rise out of me. She would rather that I express anger towards her than no emotion at all, which is what I was doing. I was just a blank slate, not engaging with her. So in her head, she's like, yo, maybe I'll just piss him off and then he'll be present for me. Then he'll probably get in my face and tell me to shut the fuck up and maybe grab me by the neck and say, what the fuck did it? Who knows? She might have hoped that it could have escalated into something really spicy. You know, everyone loves that kind of, let's just say, 50 Shades of Grey. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think she was sort of looking for that emotional spark. And the way she thought she could achieve that was to try to get a rise out of me, which I then understood. Now, we didn't break up because of that. But I understood that, okay, now I get it. If she's around me, if I'm with her, I probably need to be more present. And I worked hard to try to do that. And we were, together for, a good while after that. And it ended, but, very amicably, and we were on very good terms. I bring this up because when you hear men saying, oh, these women, they provoke us, we tend to think it's a joke, but it's real. They really do try to provoke us. They really are out to get a rise out of us. I wouldn't say that therefore means they're looking to be beaten. No. I think they want to feel that you care. They want to feel like you're present. And to the extent that you're not, they'll just keep escalating. And sometimes if they do succeed in getting a little bit of a rise out of you, yeah, that they're going to get a dopamine hit when they register some sense of feeling coming from you. When they sense that you're a little bit triggered, they're like, aha, I got this. I got him. Let me keep going. All right, let me say something about his auntie. Let me say something about his brother. Let me say something about his sister. Let me say, and we'll just keep escalating. Anyway, so I thought that would be useful to discuss because we need to put things into perspective. I think the mutual role that both partners have in the escalation of tension, which can potentially lead to violence. So going back to what I said, where a lot of the times the violence is mutually inflicted. This is couples fighting. You have an argument, and then the argument heats up. And then one starts to push the other, you push back, slap one, you slap back, and you're kind of flexing each other, okay? You're exchanging blows. But since men are tougher, they're the ones who are typically going to win the fight. And then you're going to find her lying on the floor, very hurt, and everyone's going to say it was the man's fault. No one's going to take note of the fact that she had a knife in her hand. No one's going to want to hear that she was actually trying to murder him before he knocked her out. Are there instances where men will attack a woman with no provocation? I'm sure such instances exist, but if we're being real, I think a lot of it arises from that mutual misunderstanding that then causes people to want to hurt each other's feelings, which then leads to an exchange of blows. This is what happens in the majority of cases where research has been done. And then you'll find this also very interesting. Apparently, when you compare the rate of domestic violence between straight couples, gay couples, and lesbians, the highest incidence of domestic violence, the highest, is between lesbians, if you can believe that. Lesbian couples have the highest rates of domestic violence, followed by straight couples, men and women. And then the category of couples where domestic violence manifests the least is gay men, gay married men, or gay men living together. That they are the most unlikely to engage in violence towards each other. Lesbians are at the top. So if we're to just look at what the common denominator here might be, should I spell it out? Yeah, we can see the common denominator. There does seem to be a variable in this equation that tends to be more likely to lead to situations where violence erupts. It's never justified, of course, whether it's between lesbians. Just because you're two women living together, you should not be violent towards each other any more than if it's a man and a woman. But I thought we'd understand that. So in the context of the allegations being made towards our friends at NBS, well, she came out first yesterday announcing that she had moved on and was rebuilding her life, and that no woman should be made to endure the kind of suffering she endured. And she kind of made it explicitly clear that there was domestic violence, and she blamed her partner's alcohol problem for why there was that violence. Now, obviously, that was not a good look for Canary. So it wasn't long before he came forward himself and tried to clear his name, tried to declare that he's innocent of what is being alleged about him, that he is an abusive husband, and that he is irresponsible father or something like that. He mentioned how he has been in court. He's not seen his kids for 10 months. He's been trying to seek custody, that she's made things difficult for him. And yeah, basically finger pointing now at this stage. And then she responded to that again, and this time also addressing his defenders. Admittedly, I was one of his defenders initially. And mostly in terms of, hey, if you're going to be the one to come out and smear him first, I feel like the other guy, deserves a hearing, that I will not be quick to condemn a brother until I hear his side of the story. And so we did hear his side of the story, and now it's her word against his, right? People that know them personally have come forward and offered their own thoughts. Some guy purporting to be her lawyer came out and called him a liar, called Canary a liar, saying how, basically validating the allegations the wife was making. And so now it's being left to the court of public opinion to decide on who's guilty or who's not. And before you say this is their life, let's butt out of it, it's none of our business, may I remind you that they made it everybody's business. When you decide to make your relationship a public spectacle, which they did, they I wouldn't even say invited us, they sort of shoved it in our faces. Look at us, fantastic couple. We met each other as children, and then they would keep posting pictures of them dating from when they were in high school. And then all of the romantic things they would do together. And then, of course, the wedding, which, cost, some people say 3 billion, some people say 400 million, still a fortune. Remember how he would also talk about how he'd leave 600,000 every day, kameza. And then he was sort of shitting on us guys who don't give women as much money. Basically making it seem like he's the better man because he gives his woman 600k on the kameza. Basically this idea of, hey, if you have a woman, you leave money for her without her even having to ask for it. A lot of ladies like the idea of that, and I can see why. So it's like, yeah, man, I'm the kind of man, I leave 600,000 for my woman. I'm not a joke like you. Well, what do you know? All that kameza money wasn't enough to keep her happy. Stingy men win, as usual. So yeah, this is part a rant and part an invitation for you to be part of this conversation. This is a space, and in case you'd like to be a part of it, you are more than welcome to send me a request to be a part of the space. I'm hoping it's running. Can I tell you something funny? I'm actually running this space simultaneously. I'm filming it. I'm filming this space as well. So I'm probably going to post this as a YouTube video later on. So I'd like to know your thoughts on it. What do you make of domestic violence as a concept? how it manifests, how it's discussed, regarding recent controversies. What do you think is going on? You can send me a request to be added as a speaker. And then, hey, I'll be happy to add you on. This was a very impromptu space. I'm hoping you can hear me, by the way. So yeah, there you have it. Domestic violence. So what's the solution for domestic violence? In my opinion, the answer for domestic violence is for people to not be domestic together. Basically, don't live with your significant other if you can help it. Of course, that means maybe marriage won't be a good idea, but I'll leave that to you to decide. If you do decide that you want to be married, you don't automatically have to sign up for living with the person. You know, living with your spouse is a fairly recent concept. It's not something that was historically always the case. It's a fairly recent innovation. Think of your traditional African homestead, where typically families were polygamous. A man would have had 2 or 3 wives, and he'd have his homestead, and then within the homestead there'd be, huts belonging to the different members. Each wife would have her own hut, and then the children, and then also the husband. And so the husband would go and visit the wives as and when he wanted to see them. If he did want to see them, he wouldn't have to go see them, and he would enjoy his peace and quiet in his hut, contemplate his plans for the next day or next month, have a good night's sleep, wake up in the morning and grab the boys and go tend to the cattle or tend to the plantation, whatever. But if he didn't feel like it, he didn't have to deal with the missus. And you had harmony. I'm not going to claim it was perfect, but at least you don't have a scenario in which you're constantly in each other's faces. Think of those, if you've watched any of those films about the medieval era, where you had kings and nobles and so forth. The lady always had her chamber, the queen's chamber, And if you've watched films, especially about, medieval France, like, what was it? There's so many films that were made about, the France, the era just prior to the revolution, King Louis the 16th. It was that Leonardo DiCaprio film, Man with the Iron Mask, right? Where they show King Louis. Essentially, he was just having a good time with all of the ladies of the court. And if there was one he took a liking to, he'd give her a room, and that would be her room. And he'd either go visit when he felt like, or maybe invite her to his chambers, right? And then you just go about your business. Ideally, that's how it's supposed to be. Familiarity breeds contempt. And so if you're going to spend time living in the same house with someone, you can only expect that it's going to create a lot of tension. It's going to create anxiety. It's going to create irritation. Soon you're going to be just annoyed by the mere sight of them. And by the way, it's women that tend to get more irritated about us than the other way around. Once the honeymoon phase ends, they don't even want to see you breathing. Like your very breath is irritating. The way you chew, the way you walk, the way you dress, everything just gets on their nerves. And yet, if you were not living together and instead living separately, but then you would come together as and when you wanted to be together, there'd be a lot more excitement about it. There'd be more of a willingness to be friendly towards one another. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, so you would have missed them for a couple of days. And so the time you spend together will be super awesome. It'll be all smiles and all cheers. And should an argument erupt, should there be cause for disagreement and argument, then you can de-escalate by simply leaving the house. Like you don't have to be there. But if you decide if you're living with someone and you have no other option, what's going to happen is the anger will just simmer and build and eventually boil over. Because depending on the kind of partner you have, sometimes they're just not going to want to let it go. You will end the argument, think it's over, go take a shower, they resume the argument. Or you go to bed, they start trying to create some drama in bed. They don't let you sleep. All right? And then she wakes up screaming in the middle of the night, I've had it, this is too much. Why has God done this to me? Why do I deserve this in my... And you're like, gosh, has a demon possessed this person? And she might decide to get in your face about it, accuse you of something that maybe you really did. You being a man, a Ugandan man, you probably have your misdeeds here and there. Perhaps she will decide that that's the day she's going to bring it up. And now all of a sudden you have a full-blown argument in the house and you want to kill each other. Better to not live together so as to not have to deal with that. You make plans, you meet. If someone starts being funny, you're like, hey, maybe I should go. And then you leave. Or maybe once you announce your intention to leave, they'll be like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, let me just... And then they'll, get back with the program and be nice the rest of the time. I said this on Twitter and everyone was like, yo, what are you talking about? That advice is horrible. Couples have to live together. Couples have to live together. That's how marriage is supposed to be. Who told you? That's not how marriage was intended to be. It was never like that. That's a fairly recent invention of couples sort of being housemates. Couples living together, that was more a peasant's problem. By virtue of lack of space, you'd be shacked up in your little place. You, the wife, the kids, all in each other's business. You just had no privacy. But once people had the means to have a bigger space, it was considered wise for each person to have their own section of the house. A man to have his chamber, a woman to have his chamber, and then not have to be in each other's faces about it. So if you want to ask me what I think is the best solution for domestic violence, it's that. It'll reduce domestic violence by 90%. By 90%. So it's something you might want to consider. If you disagree with me, you can let me know why you think it's a bad idea for couples to not live together. I think it's absolutely great. Another thing, and this is directed at men. Do not enter into serious relationships with or get married to a woman that you are obsessed with. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. You can like a woman. You can like a woman a lot. You can even love a woman, but not be obsessed with her. Like you think of her as very nice, very warm, very kind, very sweet. She's wonderful. You like being with her. But you're not obsessed with her. If she were to leave, you would not die. But it would be nice to have her around. And yes, if she does leave, it would suck, but it wouldn't be the end of your life. Once you get married to a woman that is your obsession, dude, you're finished. You are going to be so racked with insecurities, you will not have a moment of peace. Every time your wife is not with you, you'll be wondering, who is she with? Where is she? What is she doing? Who is she talking to? And, you're going to get very paranoid about it. You're going to follow her, stalk her, read her messages, check her phone, snoop on her, and just be a total clown. I've been that before. I've been that guy before, and I learned that lesson very quickly. We like to think of relationships having meaning only when we are with someone that we are very obsessed with. But actually that'll only spell your doom. Yeah, maybe it's gonna suck that you're not with someone that makes your heart skip several beats per minute. But you know what? You have to be mature about this. Leave that stuff to the kids, all right? That is teenage love, puppy love. If you're a grown man, you have no business being obsessed with a woman. the ones who are too beautiful, too sexy. And a lot of men do understand this. Do you remember back when the New Vision newspaper used to have this thing where they would have like a double spread, usually publish it on like Saturdays. They'd have a double spread of the weddings that had taken place the day before or the weekend before. And you would see photographs of these now newly married couples. And I would always find it interesting, and me and my friends used to make jokes about it, that all the men seemed like cool and, sharp and, But then all the women that were getting married to, gosh, they looked so homely. I'm not throwing shade, but you know what I mean. A homely woman who's like, really big, not that pretty, not ugly by any means, but like not strikingly attractive, And at first you might think, wow, a guy like this can pull a hotter babe. What is he doing with the girl next door? Thing is, you have to understand the rationale. The rationale is you get with a girl who's more modest in her appearance, you are less likely to get very insecure. Because insecurity, of course, doesn't mean that if she's not pretty, she's not going to cheat. She might. It's just that the more attractive they are, the more it multiplies your anxiety. Because it's about, man, if you are in possession of a beautiful object and you worry that you might lose it, it's like if you have like a Rolex watch and then you have another more basic watch. Yeah, you'll hate to lose either watch, but it'll hurt less if you lost the basic one, if you know what I mean. Because let's be honest, the pretty girl, if you ever got one, would probably require tremendous effort on your part to make her your girlfriend, right? You probably invested a lot in taking her places, buying her gifts to get her to agree to be your girlfriend, and to get her to agree to continue being your girlfriend. You're probably still coughing a lot of money. So there's this sunken costs issue where you've first of all, because of her attractiveness, you kind of just subconsciously view her as being more valuable. And then given how much you've invested in getting her and in maintaining her, now it's an issue of how much you've invested and wanting to protect your investment. That'll just drive you crazy. That'll just drive a normal man insane, And I wouldn't wish that, on anybody. And so if you're going to deal with a girl that's like super hot, super sexy, super gorgeous, nyash boobs, long hair, brown skin, the type. Most wise men tend to not try to get too serious with such because they know what will happen if they do. They know if they get serious with that woman that they're never going to sleep again. They know they're going to turn into psychopaths. But, if you're with someone a bit more normal looking, then it's different. Yeah, you're not going to want her to go run around with guys. What I'm saying is you're not going to be waking up in a sweat in the middle of the night. Like, what's she doing? Where is she? You're just not, okay? Yeah. Our good friend had one of those hot ones, eh? So you can understand. There was that video that I saw her posting of where he's standing in front of the car in the rain and he's like, get out, you're not leaving, stay here. Yeah, that's what you do when she's super hot. But she's basic. You're like, yeah, you want to go? Bye. Off you go. Like, you don't sweat it. But if the girl is like too sexy, too hot, it'll take a lot for you to be willing for her to leave. And the worst part is that behaving that way will only make you more unattractive in her eyes. So it'll only accelerate her loss of interest in you. So yeah, so that marriage is obviously doomed because of that. So rule number 1, don't live together. Rule number 2, don't get someone who's too hot. If you're going to get someone who's too hot, keep it casual. If like she's like gorgeous, nyash, this, that, like just psychologically put her in a box in your head that says this is not gonna be a serious thing. Because if you do try to make it a serious thing, you're gonna get suicidal. You're gonna get suicidal. Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. We men, we have to talk about this, man. And I think the remedies that are being proposed, just don't work. The remedies that are being suggested to us just don't work. Be a better man. Don't have an argument. Respect your woman. Yeah, that's all good on paper, but you have to factor in the other crucial issue of provocation on her part, where she might try to get a rise out of you because she wants to feel acknowledged and loved. And that happens a lot, and that often escalates into violence. And then also men have to acknowledge their insecurities. I'm not going to go and say, oh, we have toxic masculinity. No, that's not what this is about. What I'm trying to say is, as men, our expression, the way we express love is by being possessive. We are possessive over the things we love. And I think there's a beauty in that. We're very possessive, we're very protective. This has helped to keep civilizations running. It has kept society together. It's just when expressed in the modern dating context, where, if I'm being honest, women don't really have obligations towards you. First, if she's a girlfriend, she doesn't really have any, nor should she have. And if she's a wife, well, the culture tells women that they are owed nothing but happiness, and that by their mere existence, they deserve the world. So a lot of them really don't feel obliged to cater to your concerns and your insecurities and your feelings, and they will disregard your attempts to control her at every turn. You try to tell her not to go out at night. You try to tell her not to go to the club. You try to tell her not to work out with that suspicious, trainer. She's just going to say you're toxic, you're insecure, and she'll disobey you and disregard you. And then it'll just drive up your insecurities, and you're going to start acting crazy. Another thing I want to say is, if you're going to do marriage, like if you are going to do it, you have to make sure you get a compliant woman. You have to get a woman that respects you and agrees that you are the boss. This business of my wife is my best friend. And I saw him say it. Our good friend Canary, I saw him posting, today I married my best friend. You saw that post, right? Your wife is not your best friend. She's not. Your wife is your helper. Okay? And you should be ashamed that an atheist is having to say this to you. You're a Christian. You're supposed to know this, okay? You're supposed to know that your wife is your helper. She's not supposed to be your best friend. She's supposed to help you as you lead. Marriage is an institution. What do you know about institutions? Institutions are hierarchical structures. Whatever institution you can point to. If it is an army, if it is a corporation, a business, an NGO, whatever structure, whatever form of organization wherein people have come together in pursuit of a common goal, for it to work, there has to be hierarchy. Even in communism that claims everyone is equal, there is a hierarchy. Okay, there are the high priests, the guys at the top, the Stalins and the Chairman Mao's, who call the shots while still claiming everyone is equal. So regardless of whatever political system you're advocating, there has to be hierarchy. And a marriage is no different. Marriage is an institution just like any other. There has to be hierarchy. Hierarchy requires leadership. And there can only be one leader. You cannot both lead. If you want to share that responsibility, then you are inviting chaos into your life. You're going to have a woman that's not going to be compliant, who's not going to want to be agreeable. And depending on how patient or impatient you are, that is likely to lead to conflict. So don't marry a girl who's very big-headed. And I know this is where it gets crazy because a lot of the hottest girls are big-headed, if I'm being honest. They're fun, they're funky, they're crazy, they're wild, they'll get in your face. And yeah, these women are like super exciting to be around. I'll give you that. They're just not ideal for marriage, okay? So please understand that in dealing with women, and I hope I don't sound cruel when I say this, but you've got to put them in boxes. Because I can assure you, they put us in boxes. Women put us men in boxes, okay? Oh, yes, they do. There's the guy that pays the bills. There's the guy that takes them to the parties. There's the one that gives them attention, the one who's entertaining. And then the one who is sort of the sexual guy, the guy that they just have a physical crush on and they'll hump him any day, whether or not they have a boyfriend or husband. If you have a woman in your life, just know there is a box she has put you in. You are one of those things in her life, okay? So that being said, you have to do the same. You have to put women in boxes. If a woman is super hot, super sexy, like beautiful, nyash boobs, hair, skin, fantastic, and on top of that, she also has an attitude and she never wants to be told anything by anyone, have fun with her. Go ahead and have fun with her. Enjoy a wonderful time with her. Just don't make it long term. Just don't make it long term. And if you're asking me, even she probably doesn't want that. Okay? She probably just wants to have a good... A woman like that will typically also just want to have a good time. Problem is, we date such women and then we kind of get addicted to her and her spirit and her sexuality. I'm not gonna lie, these very independent girls can be freaky as hell. So you might feel tempted to want to lock her down. Like, gosh, she is so cool, I want her to be mine. Well, I'm sorry, she's not meant to be tamed. Not her. And in your attempts to try to tame her, you're just inviting trouble in your life. She's going to not be cooperative. You will be accused of being toxic. You'll be accused of being insecure. You'll be accused of wanting to control her. And it's likely to get messy. Okay? So yeah, so don't try to wife up those independent, crazy, funky, gorgeous girls. That is definitely a bad idea. All right, so I have, I think Joel. I'm trying to add Joel as a caller. Joel, I think I've added you. Do you want to hop in and let us know what you think?
Jim,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I joined in when you had already started. I don't know if you give content conversation or you have a benchmark in terms of what transpired through this whole week in terms of breakups and all that stuff. Is that where you're coming from for this conversation?
Well, I kind of decided... Say what?
Before I proceed to give my POV, did you give a preamble, based on what transpired this week, these last few days, the breakups, and what came on, what took up the internet?
Well, everyone's talking about the whole Sasha Canary thing right now, right? Is there another one I missed?
Exactly.
What else? Did I miss one?
No, I've been keenly listening to you, and I'm like, okay, we shouldn't box. Yes, women have us boxed into these different boxes, and that we should always box them like that, like how they do us. But don't you think that the scenario of the Mugumis, okay, in quotes, let me just say it like that. Don't you think that sometimes it differs from that, the higher people get into marriage or relationships or what, the higher, and I'm the higher, I mean, say like in their 20s or early 30s, it differs from whether, it differs from how those who get into a relationship or marriage in their late 40s and early 50s perceive it, or how it ends up, or how it, the longevity of all of it. Okay, you understand? Because it will be different from those who, something I read this week also online is that those who get into a relationship or marriage in their 20s is a sure path for an early divorce. Okay, but those who elongate, enjoy their life through their 20s, 30s and all that, and then they eventually get into marriage or a serious relationship in their 40s or late 40s, then that relationship or marriage stands the test of time. Don't you think you're viewing it from a point of view that, and I'm saying this because I know that you, either you got into a relationship or ended up having a situationship in your late 40s, and that is the lens that you're viewing this whole scenario from, because for you got into it later on, you had experienced this entire thing early. Now you're judging these guys who got in earlier harshly. Are you understanding are you getting what I'm saying? Jim?
All right, so let me just walk you back. So basically what you're saying is you believe that when people get married earlier, there's a higher likelihood of divorce. You think people who get married in life have a higher chance of success in their marriages?
Exactly.
This is your...
Yes. What do you think?
Well, I haven't looked at the figures for that, but I guess it's possible. It is possible that that's the case. Obviously, because, when you're young and you're naive, you're probably going with inflated expectations that are unrealistic. And, people who get married when they're older, maybe, they're tried and tested and they know what to expect and they go in with more modest expectations. And I can only speak of the Ugandan context. I am seeing a lot of divorces happen. I haven't seen any actual figures that have, been collected here. I do know that 80%, there was a study that was published, I saw it published in the Monitor, that 80% of divorces in Uganda are initiated by women. If you can believe that. You know what's so funny though? Women are the ones who beg us to get married. They harass their men. What are we? Who are we? What are we doing? Am I serious? Are you serious about me? Oh, my whole family thinks I'm just wasting my time. What's going on? And, they literally blackmail you into marrying them. And then they're going to be the first to leave. Over something minor. You got what I'm saying? This is so peculiar. You're the ones that force us down this gauntlet. And then sacrifice our freedom. Then you're going to turn around and say, well, actually, I'm not happy and I don't want it anymore. And oops, on your way out, you also want to walk away with half our property. How convenient. No. I think the game is rigged against men, in my opinion. And I think the Canary situation in particular is just sending the wrong message to men. If, as he claimed, he was leaving Kameza of 600K, supposedly he was being the responsible man, but even that, it seemed, was not sufficient to keep the lady satisfied. And yeah, I know she claims that he did things that weren't cool. We'll have to take her word for it. I'm meant to understand that the matter was taken to court, so who knows? There could even be public record of it. We might see it in the coming days. But regarding the allegations that were made against him, I just felt that it was unfair that he didn't have the ability to respond. Because you have to understand, divorce is a very intricate thing. And even though women are the ones who initiate it the most, it's not something that they do flippantly. They do give it considerable thought so that as they're walking out, they are able to maintain an image of innocence and an image of blamelessness, because they know there is a stigma attached to being divorced. Society might view you in some way as a failure. So if you're gonna divorce, which women are more likely to file than men, they want to make sure they're coming out looking clean. And so they will craft their story, craft their narratives. I've heard of instances of women who will even start drama so that they can collect evidence. Like if she knows she's going to divorce you, and she might have to present evidence in court to prove your poor treatment, she may instigate scenarios that she can then capture. And then she'll sort of have screenshots of maybe unpleasant texts you might have sent her in that heat of anger. Or she will release a video that captures the moment where you're acting out, but not like the full situation unfolding. You saw what happened to Johnny Depp. The same thing has happened to Johnny Depp. We thought he was the bad guy. Do you remember where the woman, Amber Heard, wrote an article? Wrote an article in The Guardian, I think it was, talking about how she's a survivor of violence. And Johnny Depp was like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? He was totally blindsided. But I
was the one being violated against.
And he was the one being violated. He was the one having his fingers chopped off. He was the one having his bed shat upon. And now we got to know. And we got to know because he decided to bite the bullet and take her to court to prove defamation. And so that's what I'm saying, is that a lot of these ladies, when they are trying to check out of a relationship, they make sure they craft a narrative and a story. They do this very deliberately and carefully so that they can go around with a squeaky clean image where the man is to be blamed for everything that went wrong. So when I saw her firing the first salvo, I'm like, all right, this looks like a familiar pattern, So I'm not going to jump to condemn this guy until I hear his side of the story first. Also, well, now we've heard his side of the story. And now she's hit back at him and us who are defending him. And now it's exploded into this wider debate about domestic violence in marriage. And so here we are. So wild, isn't it, Joe?
But James,
anyway, I wanted to look into that the point he made about the 600k Kameza and all that. I don't know if you think it's true. And, there have been claims made about some of the big names in media, like of MC Cats, about how much some of these big shots make in media in terms of salary and all that. So, if the 600k every day Kameza is really realistic, I don't know. You've been in media for, 2 decades. You can speak on that. But... No, you can speak on that, all right? Right. But do you think it really stems from that? Or, me, I just think that, man, rarely does it make any sense that people in media, longevity-wise, relationships ever extend. Some of the big names we know that have existed for the test of time, Beyonce and Jay-Z, that has stood the test of time, and that's internationally. But if you bring it down home here, Chameleon and his wife, you had a face about that as well. Who else? Weasel and his wife knocking him with the car and all that. Celebrities rarely stand the test of time in terms of relationship, marriage, and all this. And Canary, Mugume, and Ferguson, really, it was just a matter of time. I mean, September 2021 was just yesterday. It feels like yesterday. And now, before 2025 ends, it has gone to the dogs. I mean, who else? Is it just a matter of time that another celebrity couple we are going to witness a breakup? Or does it tell something to you that celebrity couples never works? Or you don't need to bring your relationship to media, whether you're a celebrity or not. You don't need to bring that in the public face, because the moment you bring it in the public, we are going to scrutinize it. I don't know. And start from that Kameza thing you started, right? 600k Kameza. Man, I don't think so. You had Sanyu in COVID and you know how it ended. You can start from there and how, celebrity relationships end up really.
Okay,
Jones,
so
please, over to you.
all right. So the thing is, I think NBS does pay modest wages from what we know. The wages, they're not bad, but they're modest. However, you're talking about a guy with 1 million followers on Twitter. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands he has across platforms. He's a very popular, very famous person. He's an influencer, and he has access to opportunities that people like him can get. And that usually comes with a lot of financial reward. So he's not a poor man. Make no mistake. He is not a broke guy. At least I don't think so. I think he's doing very well. Either through, from his various activities and ventures. Yeah, I would not be surprised if he can whip up that 600k, but probably not daily. There he was lying. Maybe once a week. Maybe that's feasible. And, because that's when you're a man of substance, you just have to be used to taking care of a woman. By the way, I agree with it in principle. Except the difference is for me, when I give women money, I don't do it with any expectation of loyalty. I do it because I just feel it's my responsibility. And if you want to appreciate it, fine. If you don't want to appreciate it, that's fine. But hey, I'm doing my part. That's it. Although for him, oh gosh, it has to suck. Because he was bragging about it. Bragging. Oh, you men are useless for me. I give mine 600k. And then how much was their wedding? Their wedding was like 400 million shillings. Like, if there's any marriage advocates, I think this is their worst week, because these guys did so much to just shove their marriage in everyone's faces, acting like everything was fine and peachy. They were often in denial of stories that would emerge, or rumors that would be published in the likes of Red Pepper. I remember Kasuku claimed he had a scoop, and then Canary hit back like, yo, shut the fuck up. Don't talk rubbish for clicks. And yet at the end of the day, it looks like all the naysayers were vindicated, right? Me personally, I like him. I actually think he's a very cool dude. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we've interacted here and there. And for us, we've just always had a good relationship. I think he's a good man. I don't think he's a perfect man. No one is perfect, but he's a good man. And so I just hate watching him get dragged like this, that his ex-wife, or his former partner decides to just launch into this tirade. Because she could have made it go quietly. Like, I mean, if she decided, hey, it's not working out with this guy, I don't want to be married with him anymore, they could have parted ways quietly and amicably. And, lived their lives without anyone caring, right? But then she had to come out and indicate that, he's a terrible guy. I don't know that that's a good thing to do, honestly. I honestly wouldn't do it if I had a mother, a woman I have kids with, we'd been together and then we're no longer together. Even if she did something terrible to me, I wouldn't want to put her on blast like that, especially, by name, to say, oh, this person, did this and that to me. Because I'd be thinking, look, this is going to affect the person's life. It's going to affect their reputations. It could potentially affect their ability to provide for the children. Like, why would you do that? That to me just reeks of malice and lack of sincerity, Obviously, I don't think there's any chance for reconciliation, but man, I think men have to realize that this is how the ladies play. They plan their exits very strategically and very carefully. They make sure they've gathered all kinds of incriminating evidence, which they will obviously twist to make you look like the bad guy, And Do you remember when we all thought Weasel was terrible? When his girlfriend, is she called Sandra? There was that video she put out.
The Munyarwanda. The Munyarwanda, Sandra, yeah.
Yeah, there was that video she put out, and then she had the battered face, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, this guy is horrible. Mama, this is how all the Mayanja's kids are. The mother spoils them so they don't respect women.
Until she knocked him down with the car. She ran him down, actually.
There you go. And for me, I never believed her right off the bat. I just knew something was fishy, right? And I want women to understand, this doesn't mean like I never believe women at all. Here's my issue, is that until I have all the facts, I will always take what you say with a pinch of salt. Because I know there is often a tendency to want to color the narrative in a way that makes you look innocent. And yet that may not always be the case. As we found out with Weasel and Teta. You know, he was accused of being a batterer. Now, in all fairness, I think for them it's a dysfunctional relationship. I think they give each other chaos. I think they're probably violent towards each other. And that's what I was trying to say at the beginning, is that overwhelmingly domestic violence is mutually inflicted. It is couples fighting. But because the man is the stronger one, he typically is the one that lands the finishing blow, okay? That wraps up the fight. So that by the time neighbors come in to find out what's going on, they find a woman on the floor, maybe bleeding, and they think, dude, why is this guy trying to kill her? Except they weren't there when she was waving a knife and trying to stab him. They didn't see that. They didn't see when she was looking for hot water to burn him with. They didn't see when she went to look for a pestle to smash his head with. They didn't see that. They come at the end point when the fight is over and they say, oh my gosh, what a terrible man. No, that narrative, and that's why, like, even with that, Sandra puts up that video where, Canary is standing in the rain. Gosh, he looked so sinister. He looked like a movie villain. What was that? There was that film. He's standing in the rain like this.
After reading the 9 p.m. news, guys stressed, man. Guys stressed the whole day they work.
Yeah, man. The guy gets home, he wants some peace, and maybe he finds some drama, and now all of a sudden he's being filmed looking like a movie villain. And, look, people are complicated. Maybe they weren't equipped with the skills to resolve their conflicts. But nonetheless, I feel that it is highly manipulative when it is one party that's trying to bring out the information to smear the other. There, I think it's unfair. And that's where it gets suspicious for me.
Super suspicious. And I know it's your taste, and you may be weary about me bringing this up, but like I told you, couples, celebrity relationships, and relationships that people get to know about, the public gets to know about. I don't know if it follows along the same line of you may have had by a matter of association or not, but this thing follows the same line. Salvador, the wife moving to Canada, and yes, the guy came out and said all this thing about he had to go and start there or work and shit like that. But new evidence comes out and says that they find the guy is promiscuous, infidelity, and here and there. I don't know if you can comment on that, because I think it already revolves and rotates around the same kind of scenario that leads to how Mogome, Canary, and Saga find themselves in the situation they are in right now. Usually, it's around the same thing. Right now, Patrick is bringing the Salvador, and they're not together. Yes, they're not together, but the woman moved to Canada and all that, but
yeah,
so I'm the insider.
I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I haven't really spoken to him about this. We are friends, and I don't know the details. It seems weird what's going on. And given what the trends we've seen in society lately, it kind of looks that way. It looks like they may not be together. But what do I know? I don't know. I can't comment on that. What I will comment on is, I think Ugandan men, we fundamentally are quite naive when we get into long-term relationships or marriages. Like, we don't want to think about the reality on the ground. So for starters, as a man, you have to accept that it is probably in your nature to want to, you're going to want to have, okay? That's who you are likely. That's what you likely are. You are that kind of a man, okay? I don't know what convinces you that getting married will change that nature about you. I don't think it will. And so you go into marriage promising fidelity, promising faithfulness to a woman. You have set for yourself a standard that you cannot meet, that you are most likely going to fail. And she will be justified in calling you out and using it as an excuse for either leaving you or, being nasty about it with you. As I'm saying, if you're going to enter into something long-term, get married or something, I think you both have to be clear that, hey, let's get married, but in case I step out occasionally, don't get too mad about it, okay? Are we cool? I will still love you. I will take care of you. Everything will be great. May step aside. Will that be a deal breaker for us? If she says yes, then don't get married to her. Don't. Because if you promise her that you are going to be faithful, most likely you're not going to be faithful. And she will be able to say to you, well, you lied to me, so I'm going to take half your property. There are lots of relationships where women accept the fact that their men are promiscuous. And this is not me casting moral approval on this sort of behavior. There's someone ringing my bell. I wonder what they want. My point being, gosh, I lost my train of thought. Yes, there's women that are okay with the idea of you sort of, occasionally stepping out. They make peace with that and they're like, okay, if that's what the deal is, I like him enough that I'm willing to turn the other way. All right? I'm just going to hope that he takes the necessary precautions so that I don't get sick. And then you find women like that in happy relationships. And you know what? Secretly, she too might step out on occasion and life goes on and everyone's kind of cool, right? I just think people have to be realistic about these things. If you go in blind expecting that you're going to be perfect, you are inviting judgment upon yourself and a lot of trouble. So yeah, don't get married unless you can have that conversation with this person, to just be open to the fact that, hey, you're not perfect. You might occasionally slip and deal with, someone here or there, but she ought to be willing to accept that. And if not, then don't lie to her that you're going to be different and then marry her only for her to find out later that actually you are a bit of a slut yourself. That's unfair to her, but you're also being unfair to yourself. Men just have to be honest with themselves. They have to be honest with their partners. Otherwise, they're inviting trouble. Going into marriage claiming that you're going to be super faithful, well, good luck with that. I know there are men who might manage to do that, but most will not. Most will fail. Oh, man. So, word to the wise. Let's just do a quick recap of some of the warnings I have shared with you today. Don't get... If you can, don't live with the woman, all right? That's just, you're asking for trouble. Second, don't get serious with women that are super attractive, super hot, super sexy. You are going to fall deeply in love with them. You are going to become obsessed with them. And it's going to just not give you any peace. You're not going to sleep at night. You're going to be an insecure guy who's going to be in her face the whole time, being a nuisance. You don't want that at all.